The following show is a paid program.
Hey family, how you doing today? We have Fred Alexander, from the original Lakeside. Hey, my friend, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How about yourself,
Man, we
Dan?
made it. We made it.
We made it.
You are closing us out for the Legends of R&B. We first had Michael Cooper, my friend, from the
Okay.
Confunction. Then we had
Okay.
Cheryl Cooley from
Oh, yeah.
Climax.
Yeah.
We had, these are all your friends. We had
Well,
Felton
we did a
Pilot.
pay-per-view.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
Felton Pilot for Confunction, and then
Oh, great.
and then on yesterday we had Charlie Singleton. I got to remember
Okay.
from
Okay.
Cameo, and now you close us out with
Right.
Lakeside. How did you get into the music business?
Oh, man. I've been playing music since I was in the first grade. Uh, Going to Catholic school. I played, my father was a trumpet player and my mother sung. So I wanted to play trumpet like him, but a doggone trumpet hurts. So I had to leave the trumpet alone. I didn't like trumpet very much. It's a nice instrument, but to play it is just so painful. I mean, drums are painful enough,
Right.
but to play trumpet was murder. So I ended up learning keyboards and drums. So
Okay. Sounds good. I understand Dayton, Ohio.
yeah, Dayton is where a lot of the acts came from. I mean, originally I'm from Dallas, Texas,
Ooh,
but
really?
Dayton was like my second home,
Okay.
especially when I got in the group, because I got in the group maybe 6, 7 years after the group was started.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my own band in Dallas. This is a crazy name, Liquid Funk. It was so funky, it was liquid.
It was
I know
liquid.
that's nasty. It was like the Runs, okay?
Oh my God. And then just talking
I know
about how, I know, right? How
that's
Lakeside
terrible,
came
boy.
in.
You know you're the first person I told that to, so that's terrible story.
Well, you know what? Just getting you on the air, we're so excited about it. Everybody loves this whole week of Legends of R&B. And I'm telling you what, just looking at Lakeside, one of the songs, let's talk about Fantastic Voyage. When it
Yeah.
comes on, I mean, just to hear the beat just get started, everybody stands up, you know?
Well, you know that record. Actually, we had to come up with another record
Mm-hmm.
for the album because Dick Griffey, you know, he liked the album, and by that time we were kind of producing and writing, really learning how to write.
Mm-hmm.
Because at first we really wasn't good at writing. I mean, when I had my band, I wrote a song called "Baby Don't Be So Blue." I think I was like 12 or 13 years old.
Uh-huh.
That was my only experience at trying to write a song and go in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
But with Lakeside, we were with Dick Griffey and we were going to work with Leon Silvers. Dick said, well, I'm gonna let Leon work with you guys because I got this new producer. He's really good. He's from the Silvers family. So we were like, well, okay, that's cool. And we kind of finished the whole album, but we wasn't really in the beginning known as a funk group.
Mm.
Fred Lewis really kind of got us to doing funk because he played a synthesizer like the old ARP synthesizer,
Mm-hmm.
and he could play with one finger. So he had this groove, and we just kind of took up on the groove on "It's All the Way Live" and just started singing the hook. It's all the way live, and
Uh-huh.
it kind of took off from there. And Dick Griffith was like, okay, yeah, I'm liking that. And then when it came to the Fantastic Voyage album, he was like, well, this is a good album, but y'all need that one more hot record, and we
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, now how we gonna come up with this other record? So we were sort of like in rehearsal because we were bored and had just came off of the Budweiser Superfest. So, it's like that last date,
Right.
you're just in shock because it's like, man, we're not on the road anymore. We got to go in and put in some work and rehearse and all that kind of stuff. So we went in rehearsal and we was kicking it around. And we had like 2 or 3 grooves, but none of them worked together by themselves. So, like the one, we had that groove, and then we had dun, dun, da 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 dun, da 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 bam. That one worked by itself, and the other one worked by itself. And we was like, well, what if we put the two together? And we put the two together like, we just want you to feel nothing but pleasure. When it went to that section. And we said, oh man, that could be the bridge. The other part could be the hook. But then we didn't really know how to rap. Rap was just coming in then. This was like 1980.
Right.
Rap was just starting to take off. But wasn't nobody really rapping yet. Single people were rapping. Curtis Blow, all those cats, Grandmaster Flash, all those guys was rapping. But it wasn't any groups that was rapping. Every group sort of had, like their one singer. And we were a group that had 4 singers. And our whole concept was have a singing group and a band together. So we'd have the best of both worlds. And what happened, we were all like, rapping, and Dick Griffey loved to rap because it was a choral rap, because, we were harmonized.
Right.
So we harmonized the rap. And Dick Griffey loved it. So he said, but one thing is wrong. He said, now, Dick kind of knew his stuff too. Dick was like, what if we go in the studio and we move the rap from the middle of the song to the beginning of the song, because in that first 10 or 15 seconds, either they're going to love the record or they're going to toss it in the corner.
Right, right.
So we put the rap at the beginning, and it was #1 record. I mean, we were like number 7 on the charts, and the next week we went to number 3. Michael Jackson was number 2, and Stevie Wonder was number 1. And we jumped over Michael Jackson to number 1. And Stevie Wonder dropped down to number 5 or number 6, something like that. But we sit at number 1 for a long time.
Now,
but we couldn't believe
this is not
we
Heartbreak
had a
Hotel,
number 1 record over Michael Jackson,
Right. Heartbreak Hotel, right?
Heartbreak Hotel. We couldn't believe it. It was like, what? How the commercial go, what?
Exactly.
So but it was nice, and we had a good time. And that's sort of how Fantastic Voyage was developed. It's funny, just from the camaraderie of the rest of the guys is how that record developed, where we all wrote it together. So that was actually an event of us actually everybody having input, but it worked out. The rest is history.
Absolutely. Just looking at that, and we've talked amongst the other legends, young people don't know that at this time, coming in just start of the 80s is video. That's where video popped in. Video wasn't in, and a lot of, young people, of course, that's common. Video is common.
I mean, our first video was a video on Casey Kasem's show on a ship. And we ended up turning that into a video to represent Fantastic Voyage.
Right.
And it was only just because we was on this TV show.
And looking back at that, just seeing that and just seeing how it has evolved over the years, my God.
Yeah, it's zooming along, isn't it? The only thing that didn't really, funk had its time.
Yeah.
But funk, you don't even really hear people talk about funk anymore.
You don't.
But James Brown was, the single guy that was doing Keep It Funky. It was
Uh-huh.
about funk. When that came out of his mouth, and then we got a chance to, do a couple of shows with James Brown. And I remember the first show we did with him was a show we did for the Black Caucus with President Clinton and Gore.
Mm-hmm.
And we shared the same dressing room, and we were just like in awe that we're actually in the same room with James Brown.
Right.
I mean, I could barely even speak to him because everything I said to him, I just kept looking at him like, man, this is James Brown. This is the real James Brown.
Right.
Right. And I mean, he was just a legend already, because when I was a kid, I used to go see James Brown when he used to have the microphone in his hair.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was so dope. It's like, where's the microphone? And the microphone was in his hair.
That's too funny.
And that's how he used to come on stage. But we got a chance to hang with with James Brown, and he just told us always, whatever you do, keep it funky, because that's what people will feel.
Wow.
And they don't call it funk now, but everything that's out is a derivative of funk.
It is.
So,
it is.
And I guess because there are no new bands.
Mm-hmm.
So, and all of the bands that were out were trying to be funky. I mean, Roger and Zapp and Heat Wave, Ohio Players. Everybody was trying to come up with that funk, and we wasn't necessarily trying to come up with funk. It just happened. It was like, just from being together, a lot of magic happens.
Right.
But we write a lot of ballads, and people don't even really think of us as a ballad group. But I mean, songs like Real Love and Say Yes, and we love writing love songs.
But that was interesting. We're just going to throw this out there, that it was a lot of guys together, and you all kept it together as friends. Just the harmony of that many guys,
Yeah, we're still together now. We over 40 years. We just got through doing the pay-per-view with Confunction and Climax, and it was, and Yardbirds and Peoples was on the show also. And we're still together. We still, it's a blessing to be in demand, because of COVID. We've kind of had to, sit back and stay safe.
Right.
And not flying all over the place, but, once things open up again,
yeah,
we definitely want to be back on the road. We just have to really be careful with this COVID, because I mean, we're not no spring chickens anymore. So, we can't afford to get a sneeze. Okay.
Exactly. What have you learned along the way, Mr. Fred? What have you learned along the way?
I've learned that the people will tell you who you are.
Wow.
If you just present yourself to them, they'll let you know who you are. All you got to do is just entertain and perform. And along the way, we've learned that people really love good entertainment.
Yes.
So we always enjoyed being that person that entertains you. I mean, even when I was a kid in school, I was the room nut, always entertaining, playing something. I remember I spent some time, my mom moved us to Chicago for a couple of years, and I used to beat on the radiators. And people would get mad at school because that's all I did was, I couldn't wait to beat on the radiators. I came with my drumsticks and I played on the radiators. Because in Catholic school, they didn't really have no band.
Right.
So by the time I got back to Texas, bands was in full force. So, I was in high school band, marching band, concert band, every kind of band you could have.
Right.
And then I had my own band. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And looking at that, what advice would you give new artists now?
Well, I think, it should be more bands. I mean,
Yeah.
especially, in the Black community, we've kind of, I like the new technology. We use the new technology. We learned it because we want to, we're around the musicians that know the technology, but also know our history on
Mm-hmm.
how to write a song. And I guess the most I could say to somebody is when you write a song, try to write a story. Just like if you was talking to the girl, give you a great example. Say yes. Okay, the opening line to say yes is, even now when it seems you have almost everything, you still get lonely, girl. Don't you get lonely at night? But the worst of it all, every time I give you a call, you still resist me. When all I want to do is to give all I can give so that we can live in ecstasy. Just you and I in love,
Look at
and be
that.
poetic. If you say yes, we sail the stars, and you know how the song goes. But anyway, I just think that you should write a song like a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and tell it just like a conversation. And we're not really poetic anymore, but I think we should get back to that because I never knew a girl that didn't like you to be poetic when you was talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, if you're trying to catch women, be poetic.
You just gave them some information. You dropped
You know
something
what I'm
on them. Hey, buddy,
so
we have the music business. So looking at the music business as it is, we say it's 10% music and 90% business. And many that have gone into music have really lost on the business side. What advice would you give them?
well, that's a hard one, man, because it's not a business no more. I mean, it's like a conglomerate. I mean, look at the radio stations. I mean, they go and get, what do they call them? Not advisors. What do they call these guys now? They go in and they listen, and you say, "Well, you played anything?" No, I've never played anything. But you're supposed to be an expert on what's good and what's bad. Oh, well, I know records. So you don't have the passion anymore. They throw
Right.
any kind of record up there now, and then people miss out
Yeah.
because they don't get exposed to
Mm-hmm.
everything that's out there.
Right.
I think the business needs to open up.
Mm-hmm.
It really does, and we need to stop uh, putting shackles on the DJs. Let the
Mm-hmm.
DJs get out. They
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that know music more than anybody at the station. It's the guy that's spinning the records,
Right.
and they have a love for the records, and they know the history, and they get back. I could sit up and talk to the DJ all day long about history of records.
Right.
We need to stop making it where if a guy, I remember a friend of mine at a radio station, I won't mention any names,
Mm-hmm.
but they're a Houston-based station. No, anyway, he called me one day and said, "Man, I'm so frustrated." And I'm like, "Well, what's wrong, man? I can't play this. If it don't come up on this computer, I can't play it."
Right.
I say, "Man, look, you got to eat, you got to feed your family. Don't lose your job behind trying to play
Right.
one of our records. I would feel really bad.
Right.
All we can do is just hope that it open up again,
Mm-hmm.
and the people at the top that's sitting up in the boardroom with the cigar will realize the importance of giving people more adversity.
Yes.
That's about the only way. I mean, if they open it up, they'll sell even more records.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have even more people listening to the radio station because back in the day, radio station was all about the community.
It was.
It
You're
was
sure
what the
right.
community was wanted. They call,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey man, call in. If you got a request, you
Right.
could call in and request your record, And if that record got enough requests, that
Mm-hmm.
record moved up the charts. That's the way it used to be done. But now you can't even call in and, you know, say anything, to a DJ. You can't even make a suggestion,
Right.
So I think it needs to get back to that, and I think it needs to get back to closer to the real community, which are the people in the streets that listen to the records.
Absolutely. I love that. I love what you said about that. Now that COVID-19 has impacted us, man, it started at the end of February, then shut us down really in March, and we've still been shut down. Wow. All
Well,
this time.
we were lucky to be able to still do some things.
Mm-hmm.
You had to like scoot around real quickly and suit up and put on a hazmat suit and jump on the plane, you know. But we did one of the most historic gigs that we did this year was we did Juneteenth in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Wow.
And I think the very next day Herman Cain and Trump and all those guys came the next day. God bless his soul.
Yeah.
But they all Herman came in, I think, a day early. But Reverend Al Sharpton spoke, and then we went on after Reverend Al. And
Uh-huh.
this was a really nice concert for us to be in the middle of COVID. I think
Right.
this was Juneteenth,
Yes,
and
June 19th.
then
Yeah.
we got off the road, and we didn't do anything again until we did the pay-per-view in Las Vegas, September.
Wow.
But back in March, we got shut down with everybody else. We were supposed to do San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to do Colorado. We were supposed to do Alabama. I mean, we was all over the place. And boom, it just shut down. We must have lost 20 dates,
Mm-hmm.
just like that.
But
And
looking at
so
you,
now,
Fred,
huh?
looking at you real quick though, 40 years, man, you're not even looking at it. I don't, I don't know what you've
Hey
been
man,
doing.
maybe it's the drums, cause I mean they keep you in shape. Believe me, if you don't stay in shape, the drums will beat you up and let you know it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So and then uh, we were on the road a lot,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we like performing all the time because it keeps the band so sharp. I mean, when you're sharp like that and you're rolling and everything is pumping, it's like you could sit on drums, they just play themselves, because you just it's like that, and now after over 40 years, man, it seemed like it was yesterday
Wow.
that we was in our rehearsal hall that we used to call it Doo-Doo Records because everything coming out of there was gonna be funky. And everybody wanted to come to Doo-Doo Records. And we
Mm,
used to just kick it in our rehearsal hall. As a matter of fact, that's where we came up with All the Way Live and Fantasia Voyage
mm, 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 mm.
right there.
But looking at
Yeah.
that Fred, looking at it, why do you think your music stays so relevant? 40 years later, young people just love it. They hear the music and they just start dancing. 40 years
Well, I
later.
think it's because of the stories.
Yeah.
It's like a old book.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the story.
Yeah.
And if you make it about the story and you make the music good,
Mm-hmm.
people will remember it. I know it's a lot of songs that are out now that you're not going to remember next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the ones that have really good stories, you'll remember 'em.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about the story.
And then you guys stayed together. You all kept going. You kept moving. You kept moving forward through each one of the years. All of the years you kept going together.
Well, we had to. We don't know how to do anything else. I mean, I could just see myself
Try to go to
going
work,
to the
right?
job and that first time on the job, what is he doing? He's fired. Get him out of here. I mean, I know how to play music. That's what I do.
Right.
Anything else, I would probably be very bad at.
Wow.
And that's what we knew how to do. So we all had the same purpose. I think
Mm-hmm.
if you get a bunch of guys and they have the same purpose, then that's a recipe for longevity.
Right.
You just have to love the same thing, and we love the same things, and we love being good.
Right.
That was the thing about this band that always impressed me. They just love being good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't care who else was on stage. We'll play with anybody. We don't care because we're going to go do our homework and we're going to make sure that we handle our business and get right with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we always enjoyed playing with other groups. I mean, George Clinton, Lenny Williams. I mean, we played with everybody. So when we see them now, it's like, oh man, what's up, man? Good to see you. You know, it's that kind of camaraderie, even in the industry.
Right.
And because we all know that longevity has its place, and it's a lot of our brothers and sisters that are not around right now. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a blessing for us to just see one another every time. Every time I see Michael Cooper or every
Yeah.
time I see Felton, you know, we're so glad to see one another because you never know. You can't call it.
You sure can't.
So in
That's
the
right.
times when you see one another, let's just enjoy the moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then just to know that all of you all have had just the longevity in music, and then you see other artists that have come in, had great hits, but are no longer there.
Yeah, you know, and that's what I'm saying. You can't call it. I mean, God has really blessed us
Mm-hmm.
to be here, and I think our purpose has always been to make people happy.
Right.
I can recount a situation to just make a long story short where we did a date in St. Louis and this woman's husband, he had lost his brother and she wanted to do something nice for him to surprise him. So she brought him to our show.
Mm-hmm.
And when she brought him to our show, they came backstage and we got a chance to meet him. And the first thing he said was, "Man, this was just what I needed."
Right.
You know, and it just made me feel so good to know we changed his old vibe just behind him coming to the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that really gets you. I had a couple of people come up to me and say, "Man, that song you wrote, Say Yes, I made 2 or 3 babies off of that song."
You're
You know, stuff
responsible for
like that.
that, Fred.
Uh,
I said you were responsible for those children.
yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to spend no money on them.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
But yeah,
And
you know, stuff like that makes you feel like this is why we do this, you
right.
know, and
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be in a business where I make people happy
Right.
than in a business where, I'm repossessing somebody's car. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't want to do
Right.
that. I mean, it'd be like, well, what happened to the car? Well, he got away from me,
That's too
because
funny.
I just couldn't do it. They
Right.
fired me right on the spot.
Exactly. 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 Everybody remembers you guys by your costumes. At first, it was unison, where you would wear everything that looked alike, and then you changed to costumes. How did that come about?
Well, we actually with costumes from the very beginning.
Uh huh.
We did one album, the Power LP, where we tried to be the regular guy,
Right.
and it just didn't work. Okay, it just didn't work, and because the first album was actually Robin Hood and the Merry Men.
Mm-hmm.
The shot of love, they shoot that born arrow, you hit the girl, you get
Right.
the girl. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it was that kind of concept, and then Rough Riders, where we were cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Untouchable, where we were the G-men, but our G-men was the groove men, but we looked like the G-men from the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Just sort of like a play on words. Till like now, from the Fantastic Voyage album, we're out there as pirates.
Mm-hmm.
And because we want, when people come to the show, we want it to be an event.
Right.
So we're like pirates right now. And, like when we were with Solar back in the day when we get ready to record that album, Um, the record company really fought us after Rough Riders. They wanted us to be Rough Riders Rides Again. And we were on purpose, didn't want to be the same thing because that meant every time we could be whatever we wanted to be, and people would get used to that.
Right.
So what happened, a couple of black newspapers kept talking about how we put brothers in situations where you never saw us a lot. I mean, you didn't see a lot of black cowboys or black pirates, or anything like that. And so we had fun doing it because we looked just as good as, our blue-eyed soul brothers.
Right.
So we were like, well, okay, we can do this, and then we can be whatever we want to be.
Right.
And we didn't want to have a ceiling, and I'm so glad we did that because right today we can be whatever we wanted to be. But we had to fight the record company really hard for the Fantastic Voyage album because they was like, well, pirates is negative. And we was like, well, no, man, we're going to make it a positive thing. And they was like, well, how can you do that as pirates? I say, well, we'll be buccaneers. But we didn't realize buccaneers was worse than pirates. But it just sounded better, right?
Right.
So they was like, well, okay. They didn't realize buccaneers was as bad as pirates either. So, that's how we ended up getting Fantastic Voyage album. But boy, we had to fight for that album.
Yeah. The thing about it now, though, is that you had record labels then that you could put a lot of money behind the artist and, really push the artist and make the artist, who they wanted them to be. Now we don't have that. It's more independent.
Well, it was like you had school for artists, for the artist that wasn't really seasoned.
Right.
If you had a company, the other artists would help the artist that was kind of new to the game. And then they always sort of had a structure. I mean, you had an A&R person, you had the choreographers, you had all of these people that help an artist be an artist. You kind of see it in some of the other countries now. Like Japan, a lot of their artists want to be like Americans. Korea, South Korea. Look at the band they have now, BTS, where they came from them watching artists in America.
Right.
Now they're big artists around the world, just from looking at our singers and doing steps and choreography and stuff like that. Most of this stuff comes from America, and some of it comes from Europe. But you have now, a lot of artists that they can do really good records, but they have a hard time doing concerts.
Right.
Because you got to entertain.
You do.
You really got to entertain. And some of them do it well, and some of them don't. And so that was always the thing with record companies. I would love to see record companies again. I know you don't have to have a record company to put out a record now, but artist development always had its place.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And now it just seems that we're going to listen to it, no matter what, the showmanship, whatever it is, as most people say, it's not, and I've heard all the legends this week say the same thing, just like yourself, saying that it is a place where the record label really, really took care of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and all you had to do was be creative. Now, in order to get any kind of deal, even with a reputable record company, if that's what you want to do, you still got to do everything. It's got to be ready to go. All they want to do is distribute it. That's it. They don't want to do nothing else. And so you already have to do it anyway. So I applaud the young brothers that changed the game a little and say, well, man, I can just do my own record and do it on my own label, which is cool.
Yeah.
And that's good for capitalism. But still, I think there is a place for record companies in terms of artist development. the Ushers and the Johnny Gills. Those guys, even if they're younger than us, maybe 10 years, 10 to 15 years younger than us, they still came from record
They
companies.
did. Yes,
I
yes,
can
yes.
remember when Usher was a young dude. I can
Mm-hmm.
remember when Johnny first came on the scene. I
Mm-hmm.
can remember when New Edition first came out and we were doing dates with them. They had artist development. Yeah, they
Right.
went into rehearsal halls
Mm-hmm.
and they sit up there and perfected those moves and rehearse over and over and over. We got to want to put in the work if we want to be the best.
Yes. And that's where longevity comes in. They're still out there too. Your Johnny Gills, your Ushers, yourself. And that's, I
I mean,
believe,
Johnny got a new record that's the
yeah,
bomb. And I'm
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
yeah.
But
So,
with artist development,
if
like you
we put in
said,
the work, we can last.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. But I believe, like you said, with the artist development, with that whole package, that's what worked.
That's what works. Artist development.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see even the Johnny Gills and New Edition, they've been around a little while now.
Yes.
And it's only because of artist development.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you come in at, 16, 17-year-old kid, what do you really know unless, you've had your band the whole time
Right.
or you've had your group the whole time? You really don't know what to do. And then it takes somebody, just kind of taking you under their wing. That's what's missing right now. We don't have any artist development anymore. And I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these acts would be better if they had artist development. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Absolutely.
something they need to teach in school. Uh, how to be an artist after you've
Right.
learned your trade and learned your instrument,
Mm-hmm.
and how to get a gig. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
some of these, kids don't even know how to do a contract.
Absolutely. What would you like to leave with the viewers, my friend?
You say what now?
What would you like to leave with the viewers?
Oh, well, I would just like to let everybody know, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me give you a big hug because if it weren't for you guys, there is no way
Yeah.
we would have been around the world. There's no way that we would still be together. There is no way we would have seen the power of selling a record. And it's because you guys showed us who we are. And I want to thank you guys for that because you guys don't get enough credit for what you do for us. And I hope that, we hit a home run with you guys on trying to make you happy. We're working on new Lakeside stuff. We got some stuff that was never released that we've been working on, and we kind of call it Lost Tracks of
Mm-hmm.
Lakeside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to work on a campaign for it right now. Cam, I might have to call you and get some ideas.
There you go.
But we wanna drop something 2021.
Okay.
Maybe the first part of the year, something that I think you really gonna like. We got a couple of ladies records that I think the women are gonna really love because we give it up to our sisters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Because they really make the world go around. So we're gonna come with some more music, and I just want all of our fans to know that we really appreciate it. If nobody never told you from this group, I'm telling you, we love you guys. We appreciate you. Thank you for all you do to make us feel good. Thank you for coming to the shows and supporting us after all this time. They come and say, wow, they don't look like a bunch of old men on stage. I mean, we are, but we just do what we do.
Absolutely. I appreciate you so much. That's Fred Alexander from the original Lakeside. Thank you
And
so
thank
much,
you,
my
Cam.
friend, for
Thank you
everything.
for keeping it alive too, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, buddy. Happy holidays and God bless you and your
Happy
family.
holidays to you too. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Take care. Bye-bye. See you guys next week. We have a full lineup. Talk to you then. 12:30 to 1:30 Central Standard Time. Bye.